Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I am your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell. And today we're going to be taking a look at Spidey comics from July of 1986.
That's right, and as usual, we've got G.I. Jolie in tow.
Wait. Hello.
Whoa. Very good theme song.
To a KK only playlist at work all day. Anyway, sorry.
Also returning is Bex Luthor. Thanks for joining us, Bex.
Hi, I'm back. I didn't die. I'm better now.
Yes.
All right, yeah, good to have you back.
She's got that good 5G.
Yeah, boy's alive.
Yeah, I got that double Pfizer.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Same.
And you viewers out there, all three of you, this is a special one because our worlds are colliding for the first time in history.
Hold on. We gained another viewer since last week?
Yes, we're up to 3 now. Can you believe it? But anyway, yeah, if you want to talk about a successful podcast, you want to talk about Flea Market Fantasy, okay? So we've got a special guest, the co-host of Flea Market Fantasy for the first time ever, and here comes the Spider-Cast, Mike Dell.
Thank you. Mike L, thanks. I finally made the cut to be with the beautiful people on the Spider-Cast.
So
nobody else could make it.
Thank you. Who canceled?
Yeah. So assuming that people out there have not listened to Flea Market Fantasy, why don't you tell us briefly what LCS hockey is all about? Because that's how I know you from, right? Originally.
Well, it was a hockey website started in 1995. Actually, 94, we started doing the print. And then we started a radio show about the same time you started the Comic Book Syndicate. Like, pretty much the same time.
2007-ish?
Yeah, around there.
Amazing.
And then you started coming on the show, and Jolie's been on the show. And I'm pretty sure, Bex Luthor, you were on the show once.
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, so there you go.
I remember.
And just to be clear, I believe you were one of the first, if not the first, hockey websites like in the world, right?
Yes, that's actually true. That's no joke. Yeah, we had a website going before the NHL did. So yeah.
How is that? Okay, so just to, because I'm not really web savvy. Who in your team like figured that out and concocted that? Was that you?
That was my buddy Zippy.
Okay.
Zippy the Wonder Chimp. And he did all that. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And from what you've told me, you used to have like actual reporters that would go to like different cities and like do coverage or?
We had a reporter in every NHL city at one point. Yeah.
That is incredible. And I've probably asked this before, but did this generate any income? Not that it's any of my business, but did it generate
little.
Okay.
Surprisingly little. Yeah.
Wow, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Did it make more than $1.21? Because that's as much as Comic Book Syndicate has made in 14 years.
But
okay, is someone in a construction site?
Is someone driving down the highway right now?
What does that sound?
I don't know what's happening.
Is that Parker? Okay.
Oh.
Oh. There's been a problem. I think that little dog got pissed that he had to wear a sweater, and he took him out.
No, that's just his little harness. Yeah.
Okay,
is that better?
Yeah. Was that Parker?
It was my AC kicked on.
Got you.
Yeah, so I just shut it off.
You're gonna have to sweat it out, Josh.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just a Canadian heat wave going on.
Yeah. So anyway, now I always like to tell the story. Well, I've only told it maybe once, but I like to tell the story. So tell us how you found out about Comic Book Syndicate.
It was someone in my writing program tweeted about it. They were like listening to you, and we were looking for a guest to come on the show and talk comic books. And I saw the tweet, and I said, I'll contact these people. And I contacted you, and you were nice enough to come on the show.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All that hard work paid off, G.I. Jolie. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. Because it was all my hard work.
Yes.
And let me just say, I think, of course, by the time this airs and all your thousands of listeners will be hearing this, Jolie will already have appeared on the LCS Hockey Show again.
Yeah.
To discuss the premiere of Big Brother.
That's right.
Speaking of, we have another super fan in the mix, I should say.
Is it the dog with the sweater?
It's
Yes.
the dog.
It's 100% Parker. Yeah. I mean, he's brand new to the world, but he's caught up on all seasons.
Yeah, so we can we'll be talking Big Brother with Jolie on LCS.
Awesome.
So
Get
excited.
ready.
Anyway.
Awesome, yes. So I guess with that, I mean, for those who don't know Flea Market Fantasy, it was Mike Dell's title because that was formerly the name of a text review segment that you had on our website, Comic Book Syndicate. And then you reused the name, nothing wrong with that, but you reused the name for our podcast. And our podcast is dedicated to comics from the 1970s and 80s. So 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks, and it goes from there. And hilarity ensues, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we reused the title, Michael. I think we just made an audio version of the written column.
Okay.
We're trying to make it seem like we're cheats or
Yeah.
like criminals. We did nothing wrong, Michael. Nothing
That's
wrong.
true. I'll
It's
give you
also
that.
okay if you cheat off your own work.
That's
I
true.
suppose.
Look, copyright is expensive,
homage.
okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so again, for those that listen to Flea Market Fantasy, we are extremely detailed in our plot summary. Sometimes we go panel by panel. Sometimes we basically just let me read the dialogue, right, for every page. We're not going to go into that much detail this week. We're going to do it Here Comes the Spider-Cast style. And Josh, you are going to tell us what happened in Web of Spider-Man number 16.
Right, the first issue.
Right.
Web of
In the
Spider-Man
new
number
era.
16, the first issue.
Well,
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of a mini reboot for Web of Spider-Man, only 16 months into its existence, and it does have maybe a little bit of a different tone than what we normally see in Web. But in the same token, it is kind of its kind of its own thing, and it does feel like a spin-off story, like Web has been recently. But we start off the story in Virginia, in an Appalachian town called Temple Corners. We see this mother and son running through this forest, and they're trying to escape something. We aren't really sure what it is. It's kind of mysterious. And these like faceless men show up with like an axe and a scythe and a bunch of different like farming equipment and tools. And it cuts away as the fog rolls in, and we are left with this prologue. The last panel is the mother alone, sobbing on the ground alone. And then we cut over to Spider-Man. Kind of have our normal web slinging. Nothing's going right for Peter. He's getting rained on. He hasn't gotten any pictures of himself fighting crime because none of the criminals want to go out in the rain. He's got to dry off his Spidey suit. The only pictures he's got are these like crummy photos. So he's like, okay, I'm just going to take these to the Bugle, see if anybody there will like accept these. That way I can at least get some money to go pick up my dry cleaning that's been there for a few days. And as he's getting dressed, he closes his closet door and turns around, and his shirt was caught in the door, and it completely rips. So he's got to wear this like backup strawberry shortcake t-shirt that he got as a gag gift. And everybody's kind of poking fun at him in the Bugle as he's walking through. And just as he goes to Robbie Robertson and ask him for some help, that's when JJ kind of interrupts him and brings him to another floor on in the offices, and he shows him this new floor that's dedicated to Now Magazine that J. Jonah Jameson is trying to revive. And he informs Peter that he's sending him on a job with Joy Mercado to Temple Corners because something weird has happened where this factory that has employed pretty much the entire city shut down. And there are reports that there's going to be like mobs because this is pretty much this entire town's livelihood. So they're expecting big things to be happening. So he leaves a note for his Aunt May because he's supposed to be calling somebody on behalf of her, I think. He gets on a plane with Joy. They head to the town. They rent a Jeep and go to the factory. And there's like only a guard there. It's like quiet. There's no riots. There's nobody like picketing outside. Nothing. They find this a little strange. So they head to town. And as they leave, we see the security officer. He kind of calls somebody. It says that there's somebody, there's trouble going on. As they're going through this kind of like poorer town, I guess, they see that everybody there has like these fancy sport cars, these like super expensive like motorcycles and electronics. So these like hand radios that are worth more than the houses that these kids are living in. So we see that Peter and Joy start kind of like going around asking questions, and that's when the town kind of turns on them. They go outside, they see that their Jeep has been smashed, and this like mob of people comes after them. Peter's got to kind of obviously hold back and not fight as much, but he remembers that there was earlier with Joy, he had some sort of altercation, and he like jumped in and saved the day and fought off some goons. So he feels comfortable enough to fight off these guys. The two of them get away, and they run into this house where the mother from the beginning of the issue sees them and brings them inside, kind of explains that these faceless people came and took her son, who we learn is kind of special in some way. Like we think that maybe he has powers that are not yet explained. They do say that he's good with numbers, so I'm assuming that might have something to do with it. And as she's kind of explaining this, and they're like trying to learn what's going on, these people in masks show up, and they take them away to this like secret underground base that's like in the middle of a forest, and it's pretty much like a city in the center of the earth kind of thing. We learn that there's like a scientist there that's got the boy, and there's the leader is Magma, we find out, and he's kind of holding them there, and Peter turns like he dons the Spider-Man costume, and that's kind of where things are like left on this like cliffhanger in the middle of the city, where Magma shows up and tries to stop Spider-Man from beating up the goons and escaping the city. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know exactly how I feel. I was nervous because I was really enjoying Webb. I know Webb kind of has this reputation to be like all the stories that are kind of like discarded, right? Like nobody really wants them, or it's like give that story to Webb. Like it's known as this like mess. And I've really liked the first 15 issues of Webb. I think that they're really great stories. They stand on their own for the most part. A lot of them are like character driven. And this one seems to be a little all over the place. Like I feel like I like where they're going with it, but I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Well, here's the thing. As a new beginning, I love the concept of having Peter Parker get these assignments, go to a new city, meet, encounter a new situation, and then have to turn into Spider-Man to save the day. It's almost like the old Hulk TV show, or what's that? The Fugitive, where every episode is it's a different adventure. I like that idea. However, the actual plot of this story, once we get into the secret underground cave place, it kind of falls apart. So I don't necessarily like this plot. But I do like this as a direction for the comic, which we'll see more of in the upcoming issues. We'll talk about the art later. I love this art, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I actually want to jump over to Mike Dell, because Mike Dell's got so much experience reviewing comic books. So Mike Dell, you tell us, what did you think of this issue of Web of Spider-Man?
Yeah, it was a little weird. I'll say I love Spider-Man growing up. I was born in 75, so I read all the stuff, late 70s, real early 80s. And then I went back and read all the 60s stuff. But I never really read a lot of the 80s Spider-Man, so this was kind of all new to me. Yeah.
Wow.
And the first question I have is, who in the blue hell is Magma?
Well, we don't know. We are asking the same thing because I think it says we've seen
he's
him.
fought him before, right?
Yeah,
Because it says they fought before.
In fact, Josh, I think we reviewed that issue, but we just don't remember.
I can't remember.
High praise indeed for Magma. Yeah, the powerful villain Magma. So memorable. Yeah, like this book would have been way better if, like, at the end there's Doc Ock or somebody, you know? Magma.
Right.
Well, that's
this era is kind of full of these like C-list villains, I find.
Right.
Yeah, I never heard of this guy before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, Michael, you said that's a good idea to have him go around traveling different places, investigating stories and whatnot. But the problem is you're kind of just telling everybody you're Spider-Man.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like you counter that in this issue, where he's like, "Oh, I can't just turn into Spider-Man." And Joy is going to know. Everyone's going to know. Oh well, I guess I'll do it anyway. So
of course.
It's like, well, then it's pretty bad. I don't think you can do that. And the other question I have for you, Michael, as a Spider-Man expert, he starts out the issue in his black costume, and then he's wearing the red and blue here at the end. What gives?
Well, every issue of Spider-Man, okay, he either is too stinky and sweaty to keep the same costume on, or his costume gets bleached, or his costume gets burned, or he loses it, or something happens, and he always has to switch for some reason because his it's kind of like a running gag, but it's also a way to keep them both in the public's eye, I think. Because there was toys
I had no
of both
idea
of them.
they were doing that. I thought once he was wearing the black, it was all black until he switched back. I had no idea they were doing two.
For a while, yes, but this isn't the symbiote costume, technically. He was wearing the symbiote costume when he was dating Black Cat. And at the time, that was also around the time where he got rid of the symbiote costume. And Black Cat loved the black costume so much, she decided to make one for him because she thought it was sexier.
Right.
All right. So that makes sense. Because I was going to say, I was confused by, like, it seemed like it was just a normal outfit instead of a symbiote. Yeah, all right.
So the actual symbiote era was only like 8 issues, and then everything from then until like 1988 or whatever is just cloth black costume, and that's why he's switching back and forth. And again, we have to remind the listeners that there was a Secret Wars toy line at this time with the black costume and the red and blue costume. So I think that's why they kept both of them going, to sell both the toys.
Oh,
yep.
All right.
So
Jim Shooter, he's always thinking.
Exactly. We'll definitely come. If there's more comments, we'll come back to you in a minute, Mike Dell. But G.I. Jolie, I want to know, what was your impression of this issue?
My impression of this issue is pretty much the same as yours, where once they got into the secret underground layer of Magma, or where that doctor was and all the No-Face men, it kind of got a little bit messy. I liked that they were having an adventure in the Appalachians. What is that movie with all the hillbillies?
Oh, Deliverance.
Don't they know how dangerous hillbillies are? Did they not see Deliverance? Was Deliverance not made in the 70s?
Yeah, it was. You're right. They should have known. Yeah,
Joy should have known. I could hear the banjos anytime we go. Like, I could see pitchforks or scythes and like straw hats, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if that boy is alive anymore. I agree with Mike Dell that it would just be strange for Spider-Man to appear out of nowhere at a place that Peter Parker happened to be at as well. They're the only two outsiders, so it's either Peter is Spider-Man or Joe Mercado is Spider-Man, right?
Right.
So those are two kind of weird plot points that aren't great. But I will say the art has me here, and and by art I mean the inks by Kyle Baker, not the art by Marc Silvestri.
See, I'm the other way around. I like Kyle Baker as an inker, but I just don't think he's good with Silvestri.
I think he saves Silvestri's work.
Really?
No.
I'm not a fan of Marc Silvestri at all.
Really?
He's got that weird 90s pinched faces vibe, and
all right,
Kyle Baker really, his inks really block those out.
Sure.
Yes,
sure.
yeah, I like Kyle Baker normally, but yeah, I just don't think he fits with like Dan Green is who you want with Silvestri, right, Michael?
You're right. I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of Marc Silvestri. But so I was shocked when I saw him drawing this. I had no idea he ever did Web of Spider-Man or any Spider-Man. But I guess he did like 6 issues,
something like that. Yeah.
And this is right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was shocked that Silvestri's listed to this artist because I really liked a lot of the artwork, and then I realized it's not the artwork that I like; it's the inking that's done over top of it. But yeah, sorry, you're saying, Mike Tell.
Well, I was just gonna say this was right before he started X-Men. Like his run here ended in '87, and then '87 to '90 was on X-Men, and then till '92 he was on Wolverine, I believe. So yeah, that's where I saw him.
So yeah, let's just, for the listeners, for those who don't know, Marc Silvestri, yes, he did X-Men for a few years, a very popular run. Then he followed that up with Wolverine, and then he was one of the founders of Image Comics. So it was one of those situations where, you know, the big guns would have been Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and Rob Liefeld. However, when Jim Valentino and Rob Liefeld were recruiting people, I think it was one of those things where Marc Silvestri happened to be sitting next to Jim Lee at a comic convention. And Jim Lee was like, "Oh, I'll join Image. What about this guy who's sitting next to me?" Sure. So it was just kind of like happenstance, right? Which is fine. But Marc Silvestri is known as being sort of an Image-esque artist. But as you can see here, I agree with you, Mike Dale. I think he's a great artist, and he's a great cartoonist. Like this art, there's a lot of really good body language and almost like comedic interactions. Like there's a part where Joey Mercado steps on someone's foot and one of those little comic book stars comes out of it, right? Like all that stuff. And like, you know, when Peter Parker punches one of those hillbillies, the hillbilly goes flying through the air. There's all, you know, and there's some really good perspective, like on, I don't remember exactly where it is, but digital page 13, when they're in the middle of the fight with those hillbillies, the bottom right panel, there's a really, I mean, I'm not saying this because this is a great ass shot, but it's looking up at Joey Mercado's ass, but the perspective is perfect. Like Marc Silvestri's perspective is perfect, and that's not an easy thing to do, you know? Like I think he's a really good artist, and unfortunately, once he joined Image, he sort of started to draw more like Jim Lee, and so that's what people think of him as. You know, he went on to do like Witchblade and all that stuff, but I think this early era is actually, I prefer this art from him for sure. Yeah,
there's one panel where there's like an above shot of him and JJ talking, and they're in the elevator, and it's an above shot. Did we talk about that?
No, I don't think we did. No.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's beautiful.
Yep, I see that one.
The foreshortening is perfect.
Yeah.
And then when he comes in and they're making fun of his shortcake shirt, and he's like, has a grumble sort of word bubble, and then the lights, the panel lighting, it's all, the perspective it's simple, but it's perfect.
Yep.
Everything is in the, everything is the correct ratio, the correct size for the perspective, and it's really really well done.
Right. And I will comment, we've talked about Kyle Baker a lot. I think he's a great inker, but I agree, I'm not sure if he quite matches Marc Silvestri. I mean, it looks good, but when you separate it in your head, you kind of go, well, maybe they're not quite the right match for each other. However, I do think the art is good though. But I'll agree that because he's not a match for Silvestri, it amplifies the art for me, because Silvestri and the whole ilk of like Top Cow and Image artists that come from that same house, their lines are so thin. True. And there's like a richness about the blacks. Yes. They would never ink Silvestri. Other artists would never ink Silvestri as black as they do. And there's one where Joe Mercado is just sitting at her desk, and she's got her legs up on that desk, and her jacket is just a series of splotches, but it's a jacket. Right. You would never see that from it's the inks that do that, not the art. That's a good point. Yeah, like you're right. He's just inking in shadows. He's basically just spotting blacks, and he's obviously really good at that. So yeah, maybe not a perfect match, but interesting because if Silvestri's perfect at anatomy and perspective, and Baker's perfect at shadow, it's an interesting combination for sure. We'll put it that way. But we got to jump over to Bex Luthor because we haven't heard from you, Bex Luthor. What did you think of this issue?
I just want to say that the reason you guys don't remember who Magma is because he's from Marvel Team Up. So.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Josh has erased it from his memories.
Yeah, so it's a repressed memory, and I'm bringing it back up for
What's
you.
Marvel Team Up?
Never heard of it. Don't look at any of those episodes. Don't go back. No, I definitely agree with what everyone else has been saying so far. I will say that again, like reiterating, but once it got to like, oh, it's a secret underground base of scientists, I was really disappointed. I was like, the first prologue, I was like, are these faceless, like, spooky cult men? Because, like, that's right up my alley. I love me a good cult story, horror game, that kind of stuff. So I was in it. I was like, oh, what's this supernatural, faceless, spooky mountain men? And then it's Magma.
Yeah.
It's like very disappointing.
It also doesn't really match up, hey? I mean, maybe there's more to it we're going to see in the next issue, but like at the beginning, they're holding pitchforks and scythes and like, you know, like farm equipment. And then at the end, she's talking about the faceless men took him.
Right.
And it's these like same looking, like Hydra almost dressed characters, all in yellow, the same like gas mask hooked up to like tubes and stuff, and they're all wearing like, or they're all like equipped with guns that are attached to their like backpacks. It's like, this doesn't match at all. What are you talking about? The maskless? Yeah. These are the maskless people that took your son. Like earlier, we see that's not the case at all.
And
it was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's like it switches genres. Like it feels like Wicker Man or something cool, and then it becomes just dumb supervillain story. You know, like underground cave and magma. And sorry, go ahead, Becca.
Well, I was just gonna say, even like after the prologue, the first shot of Spider-Man is like black suit Spider-Man in the rain. So I was like, oh, the tone of this has shifted a lot. It's a little bit grimmer, a little bit like, oh, mysterious maybe. And then it kind of went right back into, oh, Peter Parker's got some bad luck, and it's just a bunch of like Hydra goons, based like Josh said, in a factory. I don't know. I understand there needs to be a villain, but I wish it was more interesting than what we got.
Right.
Because the setup is really good, and like it's very fast. I love the prologue to this, just the art in it, just the atmosphere that it sets, the tone that it sets. It's like, who are these just in shadow scary men, and what do they want with this woman and her child? And then it's just like, oh, he's coded autistic, good with numbers, cool. Like, thanks, great, what do you want with him? Like, and then it's Magma. I'm a lot of the time, especially with Web, it starts off really good and then it kind of teeters out near the end. It's almost like they have a good idea, but they don't have a good end. Like, they don't know how they would cap the story.
True.
This very much reminds me of that story we read with Spider-Man teaming up with somebody, and there was just like a high-tech building that kept showing up in the forest and then disappearing. Maybe he was with like Wolverine or something. I can't remember.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
It reminds me of that because it does start off strong, and I kind of like this whole like Peter's being sent away, and like this the beginning is very charming, and I think that they could have just kept Peter out of the Spider-Man suit the entire time. Like, did we need to? Like, the entire time he's out of it, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna run away in this facility. and turn into Spider-Man now. It's like, just keep being Peter, like, escape. I don't know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then Magma seems very out of place for what's going on. Like, imagine if it was somebody like Jack-O-Lantern or something, where it was like, it kind of fit into the theme of this like backwater town.
Well, maybe not Jack-O-Lantern, but I know. I see where you're going, but yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
something.
somebody that like he could convince them that he's gonna bring good fortune. This big jack-o'-lantern guy, like you know what I mean.
Even if it was like Hobgoblin, at least it would be a splash page or a cliffhanger that would be like, oh, this ties into what's going on. But Magma's only made one appearance before this, so you get to the end of the issue and you're like, who gives a shit, right? Who is this?
Instead, we got this like
toy from He-Man, Magma.
Yeah, this techno punk who looks like a bracelet from Hot Topic. What is this?
Right.
Yeah, he sucks.
Okay, so
I like his thigh-high boots, though.
Yeah,
that's true.
I just want to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Becca.
No, I just want to say it's the redeeming thing when he does change into the Spider-Man suit, and they're like, I don't believe it, Spider-Man here, and Joy's like, how about that? And she's shown time and time again that she is a smart, observant, good reporter, and Peter just changes into the suit. Just like, oh, Peter Parker left, and now it's Spider-Man. I hope nobody notices. It's so frustrating. I really hope she finds out that he's Spider-Man. Right. I think that'd be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one more thing we got to say before we wrap up this review. I'm not sure if you guys know this about Mike Dell, but Mike Dell, you are a published author. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yes, you are a mystery writer, as I recall.
That is correct. You recall correctly. Yeah.
Yes. Tell us from the perspective of a mystery writer, is this issue a good mystery?
Well, yeah, it puts off a little intriguing plot there at the beginning. You don't know what's going on, and the big cliffhanger at the end. So yeah, it works, I guess, because we still don't know what's going on, right?
That's true.
No one has any idea what the hell's happening. So yeah, you kind of need to tune in the next week.
I guess the question is it going to end like Breaking Bad or is it going to end like Lost, right? That's the big question here.
Well, Breaking Bad was terrible and Lost was terrible. So
what?
Oh, my word. Anyway.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was like, why'd you pick Breaking Bad?
We're going to edit that out of the podcast. Anyway.
From the end of season 2 on, Breaking Bad's a train wreck.
Don't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. Anyway, it's the greatest show ever made. Okay. So we're gonna wrap up this. It's okay. We're gonna wrap up this review. Okay. So I recommend this issue. Obviously, it's a good new direction, but if they can recover from this Magma cliffhanger, it'll be good. But if it keeps going in this direction, I don't know if this is gonna amount to much. We'll see though. But Josh, what's your take on this one? Do you recommend it?
For the most part, I enjoyed reading this. It was really kind of near the end when it started to stumble a little bit. I think that I would say I would recommend it. But I feel like if next week we come back and the issue 17 is just a train wreck, then I feel like I might take back the recommendation. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that this is good enough on its own. You need kind of the whole story. So,
right.
I'd recommend it. It's good at times, and the art's great, really interesting at points. So, yeah. Okay,
G.I. Julie, do you recommend this one?
I'm gonna just put that on hold until I read the continuation of it. I really think it needs I need to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Understandable. Okay, Bex Luthor, what about you?
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of disappointed me a little bit because I was really excited at the beginning because I do like that kind of cult stuff. Like I just finished with the new Resident Evil game, and it's very that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, more cult stuff, and then it was just
more
Magma.
Cult stuff.
I love cults. Give me a documentary about Jonestown. I'll watch that every day. But yeah, I don't know. Like maybe if the next issue is better and is more like a satisfying ending, then I will recant my not recommending it. But for now, I'm just like, just read like the first little prologue part, and then until they get on the plane, and then you're good.
And just stop there. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, you don't need. They come. I'm sure next week they'll go back to New York, and nothing will have changed or mattered at all.
That's true. I think you're right. Mike Dell, what about you? You gonna read this one again? Do you recommend it?
I won't read it again, but yeah, I'd recommend it just for Silvestri's art. Just check it out for Silvestri. And by the way, Michael, the cover was done by Marc Beecham.
I don't know if it's Beecham or Beacom, but you're right, it's probably Beecham. But yeah, Marc Beecham, we know. Bex Luthor, you like him because he draws all the sexy shots of Black Cat and Mary Jane in the bathtub. Yeah, so.
Oh, see, I have no concept of Marc Beecham. This was my first experience with Marc Beecham on the cover of this issue.
He's a good artist, but
he really knows how to draw a butthole.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. You don't see a lot of those in the comic world these days.
No, for some reason. It's almost like that's not where it's supposed to, like, you can have adult comics and that's fine. Put your buttholes there. But maybe not Spider-Man. Maybe not the story about Santa Claus.
Might have been hit by
I'm
lightning.
so mad about it.
Oh, there she is. Okay, sorry. I lost Bex Luthor for a minute. I'm not sure if you guys did or if that's just on my end.
I think it was on your end.
Yeah, it was just you.
Okay. So it's my problem. All right.
I was like, I probably just yelled too loud.
Yeah,
blew out everything.
Blew
It's fine.
circuit. Okay, so with that, there you go. The first issue of Web Spider-Man, number 16. We're going to move on to Amazing Spider-Man 278. And I believe Bex Luthor and G.I. Jolie, you're going to tag team on this one, right?
Sure. Marvel
It's a
team up.
wrestling reference, Mike Dell. I hope you got it. All right.
Okay, so we start with a really excellent cover.
Absolutely. Love the cover.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to really quickly remember.
Charles Vess did the cover.
Oh, he did this? Oh,
Justice is Served. That's the one we're talking about, right? Justice
Yes.
is Served. Yeah. Yep.
Well, that makes total sense. Do you know what sucks though is that they probably recolored it. I don't like this recolored. The versions I'm reading are these new recolored versions, and I don't think that I like that. But we know Charles Vess as the fantasy artist, who is great at these beautiful covers, and this is wonderful. So anyway, okay, so this starts with. Does this continue from like last week's comic? I'm sorry, I wasn't on the show.
Yeah, so I wasn't either, but this is the I believe it starts off with a man who is like, this is the guy, what's his name, Mike? The guy who's been killing all the
Scourge.
Yeah. And he's been killing all of the Marvel.
Let me ask Michael something though first. This isn't the Scourge, Michael, right? This is just a Scourge, right?
We've lost
Did
Michael.
we lose?
He doesn't know.
We lost Michael.
Has
Now
he
what do we
gone
do?
somewhere?
We've lost our leader.
He thought, he was like, oh, Jolie and Becker are gonna recap this one, so I'll step out for a minute because I got the time.
This is staying in.
Because we asked you a question.
Oh, I was gone. Sorry.
What the hell, Michael?
I took a washing break.
You're the captain of this ship. You can't just walk away.
Are you sure?
There's no iceberg. It's fine.
But Michael, I was asking you a very important question. We were talking about Scourge, and I said this is a Scourge, but this is not the Scourge, correct?
But, well, are you sure it's not the Scourge, though? How do you know?
Well, because the first Scourge was already killed by this time. Like, this Scourge is, when you look him up on Marvel Fandom, this guy's credited as Scourge 2.
Okay.
Electric Boogaloo.
No, I totally know what you're saying, but is that a retcon, or was that what was established at the time?
I believe it was established at the time.
Okay.
Because I think the first one was already dead, right?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Just for the record, as far as I know, to this day, they've never revealed who the actual Scourge is, right?
Correct. And I guess there's been multiple Scourges.
Right. So technically, we don't know if the original Scourge was like what's that called? A patsy, or if there's like an organization. Yeah, a red herring. We don't really know.
Okay, cool. So anyway, thank you for that.
So he's fresh off his kill of the human fly, which I'm still upset about.
I know.
Oh no!
So sad.
You yelped when you found out he was dead. Anyway,
I was so sad.
Tom Cruised somebody's face for his own, and it looks like it's like a security guard's face. We don't know what he's going to do with it yet, but he also happens to be reading a newspaper that recaps nicely that the Hobgoblin has been unmasked and has been revealed as the Flash. I mean, Flash Thompson.
Just Flash.
Thompson.
Flash.
That's the Flash.
Jolie, look at the headline beneath the picture there.
Yeah,
Princess Di has tiger attacks.
What is that?
What does that headline even mean? Princess Di has tiger attacks. What does that even mean?
She has a tiger attacks.
I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. No, she was never attacked by a tiger, so that's weird.
No, her tiger attacked somebody else.
Has tiger attacks.
Did the royal family have a tiger? I don't feel like they're the type.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's just strange.
One of their corgis was named Tiger.
There we go.
Okay.
Figured it out. Sussed it out.
For real?
No, I don't know.
Oh. Now I want a corgi named Tiger. Great. Now I have to sleep with those feelings. Okay, anyway.
We're back to the Bugle.
Yes. We're back at the Bugle, and Peter is kind of grappling with the whole idea that he can't believe that Flash is the Hobgoblin. But he's like, I've known him for so long. I can't believe it. Oh, it must be true, though, because all signs point to yes. And he runs into Betty. What does he ask her to do, Becca?
He just walks into her and she was like, "Oh, Robbie wants to see you." And so he just like wants to talk about Flash, and she goes, "I don't want to talk to you." Like she's like super mad about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Because before this, I don't know if Mike Dell knows, but Flash Thompson and Betty Leeds have been having an affair.
Hey now.
Very scandalously. So Flash has been cheating on Shashan, and Betty has been cheating on Ned Leeds.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So she is just super high strung, and that's why she cares so much about Flash, because, you know, stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're married.
Yeah, just cheating on your husband with this guy. Now he's in jail for being the Hobgoblin, and she's upset about it.
Yeah, so he wanders into Robbie's office, and wouldn't you know, Ned Leeds is there, and he susses out that maybe that's why Betty's in a really cranky mood at him, but who knows. And so is the city editor-in-chief, or the reporter, the editor of the city.
Yeah, she's the editor.
News, yeah. What's her name again?
Cushing's?
Kate Cushing?
I was going to say Karen, but I think it's Kate.
Yeah, it's Kate.
Sure. Anyway.
Shit.
See Cushing's.
What did they send him to do? Honestly, they send him to do something. And what they send him to do leads him to a woman who looks like Barbie Robertson.
She does look like Barbie. So yeah, no, he sends them. He's like, "Hey, we know that you were Flash's friend in high school. Nobody else is getting an interview with him. We want you to get an interview with him." And Peter's like, "Oh, I'm not a writer." And they're like, "We don't care. Go." Mm-hmm. Basically, they say that they don't care. So they want him because they want that perspective, right?
Yeah, and they secured the okay based on the fact that Peter is a high school friend, but that the lawyer, once everything's written, the lawyer wants to approve the final copy.
Yeah, basically. So he goes in and he gets his spider senses going off just as he's going into the precinct. And it's because the Scourge is dressed up as a cop, I guess? Or he's like security guard, police officer, one of those things. And his spider sense is going off because this clearly is a dangerous man who's been killing people. But Peter goes, "Nah, it's probably just because of his gun." But his spider sense has never gone off around regular cops before. But okay. Whatever. So then Peter has some more introspective about his relationship with Flash and whether they really actually are friends or ever were friends. And if he truly thinks that he will be sympathetic to Flash's, like, what's going on with him if he believes that he's innocent. So Peter quickly, they're about to go through and to the metal detectors, and Peter's like, "Ah, crap, my web shooters are metal." So he runs to the bathroom quickly to deposit them in a spider sack in the bathroom.
Spider sack.
Spider sack.
Well, what else would you call it? That's what they're called, right? When spiders lay eggs, they put them all in a sack?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know my spider anatomy.
Okay. Yeah, and thank God every building in the 80s was like, drop ceiling panels. Easily
just
deposited.
Makes it easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, go on.
Sorry. So he hides his stuff, and then he superhero stances on the bathroom floor after he's done. with that. And keeps going, and then we just get a little bit of a switcheroo scene. So it turns out that I did not know that Jean DeWolf had a brother.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
I had no
briefly
idea.
mentioned in her like little backstory before they murder her, I think. But and also it turns out that he's a superpowered being, like a superhero.
Yeah. I knew about the
Wraith.
Wraith, but I didn't know that he was Jean DeWolf's brother, so this is news to me.
Yeah, so he is very upset that his sister has been killed, and he also believes that the police station should stop their jobs and mourn her better. They're not sad enough for him. So he wants to take revenge, and I like the part where he goes, and now the Wraith, a hero, is gonna get back some of what was taken from him, and I'm going to get it in blood, like true heroes do.
I don't think that this is the Wraith that we know from comics, by the way. This is
Are you sure?
Wraith.
a different character. Yeah.
Oh, just like
Wraith.
it's a Scourge.
Yeah.
But Peter knows him. Like later in this issue, Peter's like, "Oh, it's Jean DeWolf's brother, the Wraith."
I thought
Oh.
Wraith was like a
No.
different character. Okay.
I don't know.
So he brought his costume, and he's going to take some revenge because he believes that his sister's death was preventable because obviously it was another cop, the Sin Eater, who killed her, and all that stuff. So then we go back to inside the precinct where Peter is interviewing Flash Thompson, and I can't remember exactly how this interview goes. Hold on a second. Jolie, if you want to...
Yeah, I think he pretty much, Peter starts rubbing it in his face that like all these things, when you know how when people like talk about high school together, they talk about how big my dick is compared to your dick. That's what happens.
Oh, that's all I talk about, yeah.
Right? And then and Flash is like, "Oh, you came here to compare D's? I didn't realize you're going to come here and gloat at me." And then that's it. They don't really go into in depth.
Well-
He just really kind of wants to see what kind of friends they are, I think.
Well, yeah, then Peter says, well, we're going to put all that in the past, and I'm here to help you because I'm your friend, Flash. And we're going to be friends.
Yeah, the
So,
bottom
yeah.
line is he decides that I think he starts to side with him because what he does is after he meets up. Well, first it cuts to it cuts away and it shows us that the Wraith, now dressed as a janitor? A worker.
The Scourge. You mean the Scourge is dressed
No.
as...
The
No,
Wraith.
the Wraith is
Brian.
dressed as a janitor,
Yeah.
and then
Really?
the Scourge is dressed as a cop.
Yeah. They
I'm so
show them
confused.
crossing paths in front of the men's
Oh
bathroom.
no! It is just a regular janitor, but the Scourge is dressed as a cop. The Wraith is on the roof.
Oh, so it's doing
Yeah.
that thing where it weirdly shows us the thoughts and words of a,
Of a man that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Head
Because
hopping,
that
right, Mike
man,
Doe?
for some reason, the cop is going to take that man's badge. Scourge is going to take that guy's name tag for some reason. So we get inside his head for some unknown
Oh, because
reason.
the Scourge needs the name tag to open up so he can kill Flash,
Got it.
who he
Yeah.
thinks is the Hobgoblin.
That's right.
Yes.
So Pete sensing that, oh, that's it. Okay. This is where it goes. So Pete sensing danger, where he stashed his egg sack, goes into the bathroom after Tom Cruise with the face leaves and discovers the passed out body of the man that we just saw and confused for Brian DeWolf. He is like, oh shoot, Jack Brandon. If that's not Jack Brandon, then that must be a Scourge. So I had to go after him. God only knows where he's gotten to now. And so he does what Peter does, which is crawl into the ceiling.
He does it really well.
Yeah. And he drops down just as fake Jack Brandon points a gun, ray gun, glue gun.
Just the biggest gun.
in Flash's face. Like he's there to kill him. Spidey's him. And the Flash is like, oh, geez, Spider-Man saved me. A man who thinks that I'm the Hobgoblin saved me. Maybe I am redeemable. And also, meaning, like, Pete thinks his friend is redeemable. Hence why we got the punching competition conversation that we had earlier, right, and not an actual interview like we expected. But anyway, a lot of fighting ensues because now all the guards are hip to what's happening, which means that fake Jack Brandon / Tom Cruise face is he manages to escape because the fray is pretty large. It's just a mess of blue, and he's able to get away. What else happens? Smoke?
Smoke. I think he leaves off and goes. No, he shoots the one box that opens all of the cell doors in the police station. All right, I don't know how it works in the 80s, so but yeah, so he shoots that open to start a riot so that he can make his escape even easier. And so the cops are chasing Spider-Man. All of the convicts that were in their cells are running towards Spider-Man. They all smash into each other, and then a smoke bomb goes off, and Peter snakes into the vents again.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then we get the Scourge. We get
the Wraith.
A Wraith. Yeah, the Wraith. This Wraith. We get Brian's a wolf. He's happens to be in the alley, and he's walking towards a police station where he's going to give them a piece of his mind in costume about his sister. And he, what does he do? He superpowers a guard who happens to be just chilling outside, superpowers him to the ground. But just as he reaches the door, a Scourge
just shoots him immediately.
Bursts through the door and shoots him, and he runs off. And Spider-Man gets the door, runs out. Scourge leaves his face. Wraith is in a puddle of blood, like red blood, which I'm assuming is recolored to be red.
I'll check my original issue, but that's pretty shocking. Yeah, that was weird.
And someone's like, hey, explain yours. An actual police officer finally makes it to this point and goes, hey, Spider-Man standing over a dead body in a mask, explain yourself. And he's like, well, bye. And then he flips away as Spider-Man does. And it cuts to the rose-filled home of the Rose. who is pruning his bushes.
Hello.
As a man does.
He's got lovely roses. They're probably very prized.
Yeah, he's doing the gardening while his husband, the Hobgoblin, reads the morning paper. They have a lovely relationship. It's very healthy.
Yeah, and they have a little chat about why someone would want to kill the man in Flash Thompson who's in prison. And Hobgoblin, in order to he's like, what do you mean why Thompson? Why not? And then, like a crazy person, he flies away into the sunset, and that's the end of the issue. What?
Like, didn't even put his paper away.
No.
I loved this.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
No, I am obsessed with this issue. This is
Really?
Like in like a I love trash way.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
You know how
Gotcha.
I like things that suck in that kind of
Yes.
way. This is what a mess. What an absolute. We go from the high of this amazing cover.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, yes, the Hobgoblin's been unmasked. It's Flash Thompson. He's in jail. What's Peter gonna do? Meanwhile, like, we all know that he's not that, like, the audience knows he's not the Hobgoblin, right? But then the Scourge is here, and then Betty's angry, and then there's the lawyer, and Peter's, like, got a big boner for her. And then Flash is just almost killed. There's a police riot. The Scourge is here. The Wraith is here. The Wraith is no longer here.
There's egg sacks.
There's egg sacks. But that last page with the Rose and the Hobgoblin, I think, makes up for it. I love that.
Yeah,
this
it's solid.
Yeah, that's fun.
Like,
Best.
Why did I pick Thompson to be my Patsy? Why not? Lol, like, what a troll. I love that. I love the burning roses on the rooftop, reading the newspaper, all domestic life. Like, it was a wild ride.
Yeah, in his supervillain costume. No
Yeah,
less.
both of them. I love that.
Yeah. Josh, Mike Dell, what did you think?
Okay,
Go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead, Josh.
I think that all of the stuff with Peter Parker is good. All of the stuff with Spider-Man is bad. I really like the stuff with Peter kind of dealing with the fact that him and Flash like used to obviously like hate each other, and then they became friends, and then recently they've had this like pretty intense falling out, and then now Peter's kind of dealing with the fact that this guy that he used to consider a friend has been trying to kill him, like unknowingly been trying to kill him as the Hobgoblin. So this whole idea of like, okay, I've got to go to try to clear his name, because if I don't, then somebody else from the Bugle is going to go and they're not going to be as nice. And then he's got to also lie to Flash and say that he's not going to be using this information for the Bugle. He's just there as a friend. So it's kind of like, I really love that sort of like personal drama. Like that's new and refreshing. And it's like a nice side of that classic bad luck for Parker story. So I'm enjoying that. And then when we get into the Spider-Man stuff with the Scourge and Wraith and all that, it's just like, what? Why? What was the point of the Wraith showing up even at all? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, he was going to kill all the cops.
Right,
he was mad at the cops. He was going to just murder them all.
Right, but it just doesn't... I don't think it makes sense for the story. Like, I understand his motive, but it just doesn't... It's just a weird spot for him.
Well,
why is it Scourge that kills him? Like, we've never heard of this character really before in Spider-Man comics. We know that Jean has a brother, but he's introduced into Spidey comics being this like big supervillain that has these magical powers. Oh, he's shot and dead. And it's just like, why did Scourge do it too?
Well, because Scourge is there to kill any villain he can. He missed out on Hobgoblin. He opens the back door. Hey, there's a guy in a purple suit right there.
Yeah, right, but he didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, but it was just complete luck and clear. I think it's kind of funny. I thought it was like pretty funny.
But
like, they're doing a bit.
The Wraith didn't do anything bad, right?
But he knows he's a villain.
Served.
But yeah, he knows he's a villain because he's wearing that purple outfit and the yellow cape, and he just took down a cop. So he's like, oh, you're a super villain? Boom, my lucky day, you're dead. Yeah, justice is served. Yeah,
I suppose so.
I love his catchphrase.
I don't think Wraith has done anything in this issue. Like, he didn't kill anybody.
But he just wiped out that cop. Oh.
He's probably fine.
But in the Scourge's mind, he knows he's a supervillain, so boom, he's killing him. If you wear, crazy underwear like that,
pushed him over.
You're getting shot.
He pushed over a cop, though. That's it.
Hey, justice is served.
He gets up
That's
and
all that
scratches
matters.
his head after.
So,
like, what happened?
Here's the thing. I just want to cut in. I did a little bit of research just now. So Wraith, I'm not really overly familiar with him, but he was a villain. He was psionically controlled by someone to kill a bunch of people. Then he fought Spider-Man, Iron Man, Doctor Strange. And I'm just pointing out that he has a very large history. We're just not familiar with it. So in this issue, I will agree, he comes out of nowhere and serves almost no purpose. Other than that, the Marvel editors were like, okay, we got a bunch of crappy characters we need to get rid of. Yeah. Let's just have Scourge kill them. That's it.
Yeah, that was the point of the Scourge, just to wipe out, thin the ranks, get rid of all the bad characters.
It just seems like another...
I'm looking at... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Low blow, just to it's just like salt in the Jean DeWolf wound.
Yeah.
Because they already did her so dirty with how they killed her off and that like crappy story that went with it, in my opinion. This is my opinions are my own, and I do not solely represent the comic book syndicate. But I hated that story so much. It was so shitty. And then for his brother her brother to come in and like, you know, seek revenge and I was like, oh no, he's just dead, I guess, immediately. Like it was just like, really? I don't know. I just really hated that.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Really quick, Becca. I just read up on his fate. He is dead.
Yeah.
His original form was destroyed, but he later transferred his mind into the body of another. He led the Vampire Lair Club against police, but then he was killed by Morbius, the living vampire. So yeah, there's more to come from Wraith. But anyway, Bex, go ahead.
I was gonna say basically. This character, Jean Dwell's brother, this is his death. Like that's it. He's like, oh, there he is, and now he's dead. Yeah. And then like we were talking about with the Scourge, I think a couple weeks ago, with like the Human Fly and all of them, all of those people that were killed by the Scourge, like in this 80s series, come back and they get resurrected by the Hood. All of them.
Really?
They bring them all back in like modern comics.
I did not know that.
That's why we
because I looked up the Human Fly and he's around still.
That's why we don't read comics published past 1992, right?
I read all of them. But yeah, so the Hood resurrected all of these like really crappy bad guys that the Scourge killed to kill the Punisher. Doesn't work.
And Mike, when we're saying the Human Fly was killed, we're talking about a villain Human Fly, not the Human Fly we did on Flea Market Fantasy, right?
And that's very, sometimes I forget how many of these characters share names. Like, first of all, there's a Wraith for DC. There's also, by the way, let's not forget, Magma is a girl in the New Mutants as well. Like, these names just get these names just get, thrown around like there's no tomorrow. There's 2 Warlocks. There's 2 everybody, right? Like, so it's very confusing. There's 2 Punishers. There was a Punisher robot in the 1960s. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it was called the Terminator.
No, it was called the Punisher. But anyway. Okay, anyway.
The Punisher as a robot is just the Terminator or Judge Dredd.
So, wait a minute. I didn't give my review yet, even though I missed the first 5 minutes of, your summary. But anyway, can I just say quickly, I thought the art was actually pretty shoddy in this issue.
I've never... Who's the artist here, Michael? Say his name.
The penciler's Mike Harris, who we have very mixed feelings about. The inker
I don't know anything that he's ever done. I will say this. I've never encountered an artist have so much trouble with arms in my life. Like, you go through this book and just look at the length of arms. It is crazy.
Inconsistent.
It is unbelievable, the length of some of these arms.
Here's the thing is, the inks are by Vince Colletta. He is notoriously the worst inker that Jack Kirby ever had. However, I personally don't hate his inks. I do think he has some strengths, but when I posted my opinions, I was screamed at on Facebook by a guy named what was his name? I don't remember his name, but anyway, he blocked me. I blocked him. He deleted me. We hate each other. It's all good. But so this guy's famous for being lazy, for erasing the background pencils.
Oh, yeah.
Right, he's famous for this. However, it's almost like when he is a really good artist, he's good, and when he has a weak artist, he's terrible, because we've seen Kyle Baker ink Mike Harris, and he's incredible, right? Remember the Chance issue last week, Josh? It was incredible. So it's clearly, I think what's happening is Vince Colletta is rushing through, just, not adding anything and probably taking things away. And like you said, Mike Dell, there's probably some incorrect anatomy in there that he's just exaggerating with his poor inks. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. Just my favorite example is on the bottom of page 3, the bottom left panel, where Peter and Betty are talking, and they're like walking on just a blotch of blue.
Right.
Look at Pete's right arm. Holy hell.
Yeah, it's not great.
I didn't even notice that.
He could tie his shoes without bending over.
Unbelievable. You know what's weird? If you flip to the very next page, look at Joe Robertson on the bottom right. That's clearly John Romita Sr. Like, just going in and fixing
really
things
does.
up. Like, there must have been something wrong with that face or something, but that happens a lot in this issue where there's panels that don't really fit. And sometimes when you're reading 80s comics, you'll also notice that the lettering changes. Like the font actually changes, and it's because they've gone in and, just edited something or whatever. But I don't know. I thought this issue was very all over the place. Like if you look at the credits, it was plotted by Tom DeFalco, but it was scripted by Peter David and Joe Duffy. So clearly this was another rush job, right? They're like, okay, we just got to get this issue out. So I think that explains a lot of the disconnected feeling of the story. But
I'm going to say something that I've said before, but I really think that this story would have been a lot better if we didn't know if Flash Thompson was innocent or not.
Good point.
I really do. I feel like we would be able to really feel with Peter if we didn't know that he was innocent. Because
wait, you mean like, again, I've never read anything before this. So you're saying it's already been established that he is innocent?
Yes.
Well, yeah, the Hobgoblin's here, right?
Oh, that's right.
The Hobgoblin's here. The Hobgoblin's here. Like,
I totally forgot about that last page. Yeah.
Like the issue where we find out that Flash is Hobgoblin, that same issue, we see Hobgoblin like, ha, that sucker.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, it's like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. I think it cheapens it. I really do.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
I think that we would be really feeling with Peter right now. Like, we would be feeling the same things. Like, I don't know. I want to believe Flash. I want to believe that he's not this, like, serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, this is this super villain. And that, Peter's friend really isn't this monster. Although...
I was going to say, he kind of is a monster.
He is a monster either way. But, I feel like that mystery would still be there. And
yeah, that's the whole point. When you're plotting a mystery, you have to have some people lying, so you don't know who to trust, and you don't know,
Yeah,
so
we're supposed to kind of like close our eyes, like with Peter, like, I wonder if he is innocent or not. It's like, I don't know. It's
but seeing how I completely forgot about the Hobgoblin, I want to go back to that last page where with him in the rose, and he says he was hoping that Flash would have been killed. Or because it would give him more freedom to move around until people realized that was still at large. And then he hops on a giant scooter and flies through the air in his Hobgoblin costume. Like, how many people do you think just saw him on his Hobgoblin costume? Everyone knows it's not Flash Thompson. They can just look up in the sky and see this guy zipping around. And it's like, oh.
That is a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yes, it is a fair point. Thank you, Michael.
Now, I'm going to interject and say one thing. I know, Mike Dell, that you are a mystery writer, but I'm familiar with Alfred Hitchcock, okay? And his style was to reveal the twist so that...
Well, then that's not a mystery, then.
Well, no, you're right.
Suspense.
It's just, look at this Mike Dell. It's like he knows what he's doing or something. It's true. It's suspense. And when you reveal the twist before... the other characters in the story know about it. It's all about suspense and how the characters are going to act when they find out what's going on. So technically, I know what you're saying, Josh. It feels like it was a huge mistake, but hopefully Tom DeFalco has another, has an ace up his sleeve. But then again, he probably doesn't. And it's probably just a big clusterfuck, right?
Yeah.
So, but we'll find out because this whole Hobgoblin thing is going to get wrapped up in about 11 issues. And
great.
Yeah, don't worry. You've only got 11 issues to go. Wait, sorry. 11 times 3, so 33 issues to go. Don't worry about it.
So it'll be like cold by the time, like outside, temperature-wise.
Yes. So we'll get back to you in the winter about that. But anyway.
Yeah.
And by the way, did they ever... Ned Leeds turns out to be the Hobgoblin, right?
Well,
no.
Funny you should ask that, Mike Dell. Yes, he does. But then
Eventually.
5 years later, Roger Stern comes back and writes a new story that reveals that his original intention was to have Roderick Kingsley be the Hobgoblin. Who's in
I have no
this
idea who that
issue?
is.
Yeah, wait. Was he in this issue?
No, he's not in this issue.
He's in Peter Parker.
Oh, he's in Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, he's around at the time. So I think they were still kind of like doing red herrings or whatever. So
So I think they still didn't know who they wanted to make
probably
the Hobgoblin. That's not. This isn't like some cleverly crafted like, who is it? Is it Ned? Is it somebody else? No, they just didn't know yet. So they're like, we'll make it somebody else. It's not Flash, but it's someone.
But how about this? Betty Leeds is making sweet, sweet love to Flash Thompson. He gets arrested as the Hobgoblin, and then she's married to Ned Leeds, who could have been the Hobgoblin. So just look around where Betty is, and you're gonna find the Hobgoblin.
Yep.
I'm just still like back to like the whole suspense thing and like the sympathy with Flash. I don't care that he's in jail because he did hit his girlfriend.
Yeah.
In prior issues to this one,
Flash Thompson's beating up women?
Yeah.
He smashed Shashan's face and threw her on the ground and then left her. And then she gets kidnapped by the Hobgoblin and ends up in the hospital for stress.
And to be clear, the reason why he hit her is because she said, "I know you're sleeping with another woman."
Well, then I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
No, but he should be in prison anyway, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
And then she's in the hospital because she just got kidnapped by the Hobgoblin. And Flash goes to visit her. And she's like, "Oh, Flash, you do care." And he just actually came to yell at her some more.
Yep.
Because she decided to leave him because he hit her.
It is pretty crazy when you go back and read these books from the 80s, like the way women are treated in the stories. And we'll get to that next issue as well with the Black Cat.
You can tell that there was not a single woman in the office.
So let's wrap up this one. This issue is a weird one. I mean, obviously, I love Spidey, and I recommend every issue this run because they all connect. But I don't think this is a good one, and I don't think I'm ever going to read it again. Probably not.
Wait, Michael. You read some of these multiple times?
Mike Dell, I have read this issue at least 5 times. Come on. What do you think this is? Yeah.
All right.
Josh, what about you? You going to recommend this one?
No, I do not. It's just like, I don't know. I think that the stuff with Peter isn't strong enough. We know that, like, the thing that he's kind of dealing with, like, I don't know if he's innocent or not. Should I be protecting this guy? It's like, well, we all know he's innocent. So, like, to me, there's no drama there. Like, I get the suspense thing, but I don't feel suspenseful because I know he's going to get away at the end. Like, I know nothing bad is going to happen.
Right.
And the stuff with Wraith and Scourge, I'm just like, not a big fan. I feel like you could go from 276 to 279 and you wouldn't really know that anything happened in between.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. Okay, G.I. Jolie, what about you? Do you recommend this one?
Just Peter Parker stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just do a skim read. All right. Bex Luthor, do you recommend this one?
Just the last page with my new favorite ship, the Rose and the Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
you know,
I love their love.
Healthiest relationship in comics. You just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It would be really great if he didn't fly away at the end. If the reason why he has to hang out with the Rose is like, I'm so angry that I've got to stay out here and hide because so nobody knows my identity and nobody knows I'm actually out there.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, like
he just flies away.
Like it's kind of like a buddy cop comedy where it's like they're reluctant supervillains that are kind of stuck with each other for this plan to work.
Yeah, he's teaching him how to prune his bushes.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Hello.
No, I like that he flies off and cackles because it's dumb and bad. And it just like, the Rose is like, oh, that's just my husband, crazy hobgoblin. Love that. Yeah, no, Flash can rot in jail. 0 out of 10.
Okay.
Don't read it. Just skip it. I mean, the Hobgoblin's dope, and all this stuff about Flash Thompson is ruining it, I think.
Don't worry, it gets worse. Okay, Mike Dell, do you recommend this one?
No, I would not recommend it. Although I thought it was hilarious when the Wraith died. Like, he just walks up and Scourge walks out and shoots him. I thought that was very funny. But yeah, no, don't read this. No, don't read this.
So you don't read it 5 times, you're saying?
No.
Don't read it once.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so now we are going to jump to our final issue for this week. So don't anybody take a break because I'm going to review this. I'm going to quickly summarize this one here. This is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 116. I just want to point out, I don't know if I should save this information for now or save it for later, but this is Sabretooth's 5th appearance. Okay? So this is
Ever?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is early on in his development. So if he doesn't seem like the Sabretooth that we all know and love, there's a reason for that,
Yes.
right? Sabretooth is in his original costume, which I prefer. He's also kind of he's skinny, but not as skinny as he was when he was drawn by Marc Silvestri in X-Men. So yeah, he doesn't look like, the hulking what's his name? Tyler Mane?
Yeah.
Yeah, the hulking
Probably.
Tyler Mane Sabretooth that we're used to in the movies. But anyway, so this is all different. And so we got this cover here that I think is a really well-drawn cover, ruined by some stupid text.
Yes,
Yeah,
agreed.
Agree, yeah. So Sabretooth is basically taking a swipe at Spider-Man and cutting his costume. And and this is the text. Spider-Man is down to his last costume. Sabretooth just ruined it. Pray for Sabretooth. Okay, come on.
But it's Prey, Prey, so
Right.
not
Oh,
like Prey for Sabretooth, like he injured, you know what I'm saying? But this is Rich Buckler, by the way, who drew this.
Rich Buckler, good artist, but he's known to be a swipe artist. So he probably ripped this off from like John Buscema or something.
How dare you?
But but just for the record, the editor usually comes up with a text, so that we have Jim Mosley to blame for this cover text, which is just terrible. But whatever.
But it's hilarious and accurate. Like, people who are this invested, aka us, are like, oh God, he only has one costume. It's cracked. What does he do now?
Wear
Have
the
to
red and
wash
blue
his
one, I
underwear.
guess.
Wait
Yeah,
just
wear the red
one
and blue
second. We know that he has multiple costumes because we see him wear both of them in every single friggin' issue. Honestly, if anything, I'm like, oh, thank God. He's down to just the one.
Yeah, not suspenseful for me, but that's okay. We'll talk about that later. So we're going to jump into this issue. So again, Mike Dell, this is one of the perks or quirks of doing Spider-Cast is our guests get to come in the middle of stories and never find out how they end either. So basically...
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm good with that, with these 3 stories.
So basically,
I don't need to know how they end. I'm fine.
So last issue, Peter Parker realized that Black Cat's bad luck powers were rubbing off on him. And he was like, having bad luck. And he was like flipping a coin like 117 times. And it was always coming up tails. So he's trying to...
Can I ask you a question though, Michael?
What?
Reading this issue, I learned that the Kingpin gave Black Cat her powers.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Josh,
The
It's a
spot?
good
Was it
question.
involved?
I think the Kingpin like put her in a machine. Is that right, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah, Becca,
Dr.
you're right
Spot.
as well. The Spot was like a scientist, and he was like experimenting with with special powers, and
Okay.
it was around the time where it was like this like years worth of will they won't they with Black Cat and Spider-Man, and you're kind of just like, you guys are awful for each other, and it's the same story over and over again, and it culminates with Black Cat deciding to get these superpowers and then not tell Spider-Man / Peter Parker for like another year's worth of comics. And every issue, like, I'm going to tell him. Oh, no, I'm not going to tell him. And then they break up, and we haven't really heard from Black Cat since.
Okay.
We're just kind of getting reintroduced to her now. And we're led to believe that part of Peter Parker's like classic bad luck is due to her and her powers, and that's why he's been having extra bad luck.
Right. Extra bad luck.
Okay.
So basically, last week or last month, he went to Doctor Strange, got it removed, and just as that was happening, this guy punched her in the face, broke her nose. Okay. So we open up this comic with a scene of this big punk. Well, I assume he listens to punk, but I don't want to assume that. But anyway, who's just punched Black Cat in the face. Her nose is all bloody. He's mouthing off to her. Meanwhile, Peter Parker, he's just doing business as usual. He doesn't know this is going on. So he goes home and proceeds to run into Mary Jane, who just paid to have his entire apartment like refurbished after this fire. And he does what any good friend would do, which is yell at her, blame her for all of his troubles, and slam a door in her face.
Oh, hey, Michael, this is Roderick Kingsley. This is the Hobgoblin.
What's that?
Right.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
That's him
Yes,
right there. Roderick Kingsley.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe there was a master plan. Maybe there wasn't. We don't know, right? This is not.
I'm going to tell you right now, Michael, there was not a master plan.
Yeah. It was Kathleen Kennedy, a young Kathleen Kennedy was running things at Marvel at this point here, okay? Anyway, so then we cut over to a villain who I personally think is really cool, the Foreigner, named after the 80s band that Josh likes. Oh, sorry, is it Becker or Josh likes Foreigner? I can't remember. Okay, Josh, okay.
I mean, I also like Foreigner, but I've never expressed that before.
Okay, should have known, but anyway.
I don't hate Foreigner.
Okay.
Right.
I mean,
I will concur that the song I Want to Know What Love Is makes me cry every time I hear it, but I'm not going to say I love Foreigner. But anyway.
I think you just did.
Yeah. So
now I hate Mike L.
there you go.
And I love Foreigner.
Okay. So anyway, so basically, what's his name? The Foreigner is, what's that called? What's that called? Shooting arrows?
Archery?
Yeah, he's doing archery. He's shooting arrows at this target, and Sabretooth is chatting it up with them. Basically, Sabretooth is saying that, he's bored and he wants to join Foreigner's assassins thing because, he wants to get some action and blah, blah, blah. And then I think this is cool where Sabretooth talks about how it was really hard to track down the Foreigner and he had to kill like 3 people to do it. And then he's like, oh, finally I got your address from a homeless person. What does he call him? A wino. And Foreigner was like, that was me. And Sabretooth's like, of course the alcohol covered your scent. So basically the Foreigner is really resourceful. He's really cool. We love the Foreigner. He's awesome.
He's a drunk, apparently.
Yeah,
he's also a drunk.
He was disguised as the drunk, but so basically,
yeah, that's what I say too to my wife. I come home, I'm just like, I'm just disguised as a drunk, honey.
He's just so method. I love it.
Yep. So anyway, so then basically, so he wants to get an assignment, and I love this scene when Sabretooth when Foreigner's like, now as for work, I must admit costumed assassins are hard to place. To be honest, old sock. And Sabretooth's like, yeah? And just what do I need to blend in? Orthodontia, electrolysis, a manicure, and pupils. I love that bit, but anyway. Anyway, I have low standards. Okay, so then we cut back over to this punk guy who's beating up Black Cat. And then
Well, he's trying to rape her now, Mike.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
He's technically sexually assaulting her here. And then she pulls a Hulk Hogan and just like gets her energy back, kicks him in the balls. We see it.
She hulked up. She started shaking the finger.
Right. And she's like, nobody manhandles me, nobody. And she starts kicking ass, right? She's like leaping over one guy, kicking another. Now
does she have any superpowers? Like, is she super strong?
Well, she used to have bad luck powers, but that's it.
But that's it?
That's it. Yep.
All right.
She was working out in the last comic.
Yeah, she's always
true,
working out. So she's super fit and she's super agile. So she still has that.
Yes. And she proceeds to pretty much kick some ass. She gets the one guy to punch another. Crunch. Does this say crunch? Yeah, it does. Kicks another guy. Another guy takes a knife at her and it's like rip. Wonk. I like to narrate the onomatopoeias here. They're great. Mm-hmm. And then he basically just scares one guy into submission, right? And then we cut over to this awesome scene of Peter Parker skulking. Skulking? No. Sulking.
Pacing.
Well, you kind of skipped over Black Cat jumping on a guy's back and killing him.
But I thought did she really kill him?
Yeah, because she has a knife in her hand and she says, come back here. I have a new claw just for you. And then she tackles him off panel, and it's implied that she stabbed him.
I love the off panel stuff. Yeah. Use your imagination, right? It's great. Yeah. So then we cut over to Peter Parker pacing. This is awesome, classic Peter Parker pacing around the walls in his apartment. This is so good. I've been waiting for them to... Have they ever done this in a movie yet? I don't think so, right?
No. He hangs out on the...
Virtual Insanity? The music video? I don't know.
Jamiroquai.
I just think,
he hangs out on the ceiling in Homecoming, I think, with like when him and Ned are like hanging out in his bedroom, he just is on the ceiling.
But I want to see this exact shot of him like pacing around, in a circle. That's just so cool. I love that.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should say the camera's outside his apartment looking in the window.
Right.
And it's the same shot every panel.
Right.
And all it changes is his body position in the window. So, yeah.
It's so cool. But anyway, okay, now here's the other little thing about 80s comics. There's a lot of subplots. And this subplot kind of comes out of nowhere, has no connection with anything else, but hopefully it's going to amount to something later. We've got this abusive father with his son. He's always yelling at him, mouthing off to him. The son is, cowering in fear. And the father has also invented this disintegration device that the kid accidentally stuck his hand into. And so the kid now has these powers, which we're going to get to later. But he's basically like, good thing Dad didn't want help with his lab stuff. I don't want to get near that gizmo I stuck my hand in. The one that started my hands glowing with that power that I can't control much longer, which will come, come back later on. We'll get to that in a minute. So then we cut over to this scene with the Foreigner and Sabretooth, which now we kind of learn they're in the same building that Black Cat was in when she was getting, raped by the punk guy and the other guys. And Sabretooth walks in and is like, oh, look at this perfect opportunity. I'm going to track down this girl who beat the crap out of all of your, henchmen here. And Foreigner's like, okay, fine, go ahead. So we cut over to Black Cat and she's like, looking at her broken nose in the window. Spider-Man suddenly appears on the ceiling. They chat it up and she hugs him, but he's like, oh, no, it's not like that. I just want to be friends, So she slaps him across the face. And then we cut over to a humorous...
Well, the reason why she slaps him is because he explains about the bad luck powers.
Right. So this is where she realizes, oh my God, you're the one that took away my powers. But for some, it's one of these like sitcom things where all she has to do is explain exactly what happened. But instead, she just doesn't tell him, right? So it's like one of those artificial things where the characters act stupidly so that we can advance the plot, right? So now Spider-Man has no idea why she's so upset. She has no idea what happened to her with that Mohawk guy. And so we cut over to her humorous scene with this, older couple complaining about the noise, turning up the radio, blah, blah, blah. So
now, Mike, when you said humorous, did you put quotes around it in your mind?
Well, it was semi-funny, I thought. But anyway, so we cut back to Spider-Man and Black Cat arguing. He's like, see ya. He takes off, swings away. And then she's like, thought bubble, what else could happen to me? And then speech bubble, you're going to die, sweetheart. And we cut around and we see that Sabretooth is now in her apartment and he's drooling and he's ready to fight. But then Spider-Man comes back in and kicks him in the face. And then we get this somewhat anticlimactic scene because we know Sabretooth in 2021. We know how tough he's supposed to be. But this is like 1986 Sabretooth. Not as cool. He's ready for Scourge. Like, where's Scourge? A story like this. So Sabretooth takes a swing at Spider-Man. Spider-Man, swings over the edge, comes back. They fight for a little bit. Spider-Man's costume's clicking away. And then Spider-Man, this is actually kind of cool. Spider-Man then shoots his webs and covers Sabretooth's face with webbing. Now, longtime Spider-Man readers will know that Spider-Man's web is unbreakable. But Sabretooth is really strong. And he has a healing factor. So he rips it off his face. And supposedly, he rips the flesh off his face. But since this is a 1986 comic book, we can't actually show that. So we just show red lines drawn across Sabretooth's perfectly, complexioned face. And so we kind of just get the idea that he's ripped his skin off, but it's not really that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. So anyway, so then we're basically cut over to the Foreigner, and the Foreigner's like, poor Sabretooth. I guess I'll simply have to deal with this woman myself. So what's his name? Foreigner will be back, in case you guys were wondering. We cut over to the subplot with the kid. The father comes in for one last, abuse session, and then the kid uses his powers to disintegrate the father, and then he's like, "Oh geez, mom's gonna kill me," and then he's like, "Dad," and then it's like the end. Wah wah wah. Yep, the end.
Mike, right? You disappoint me. You disappoint me, Mike. You missed the most important part.
Did I?
Of this issue.
Which is?
You did. The Golden Notebook's back, baby.
Oh, that's
It's back!
The Golden Notebook is back!
I forgot.
She's back!
Yes.
I had no idea the Golden Notebook was such an important thing to you people. I had no
Oh.
concept. Well,
It's all we have
The
to live
only
for.
reason
anymore.
I'm still doing this podcast.
Hey, Mike Dell,
it brings me
the
back.
Golden Notebook was introduced 10 months ago, which is 30 issues ago, okay?
Okay.
The Beyonder turned a skyscraper into gold. The U.S. government
Yes.
came in, got rid of the gold, but Spider-Man stole the Gold Notebook, and he's been wrestling, with the dilemma of should I keep it, should I not, should I sell it? And then a few issues ago, he sold it for what was it, $6,000 or something?
really?
Yeah. And so we thought the Gold Notebook story was done, but Josh, it's back.
It's back. Yeah, it was so funny because it just popped up in every single issue for that month too. Like, you would look at the notebook and be like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I could sell this notebook that somebody had in the trash that was turned into gold. I don't know if my conscience can handle that. And it was just every single issue. The notebook, I don't know if I could do it or not.
Right.
Every issue, every month. And then finally he sold it. And we're like, thank God. Look, you can pay off medical bills for your aunt. Like you're finally doing something with it. Like, it's not a bad thing. And then, it's back, baby. Does
that mean that Black Catted it from somewhere and then?
Well,
apparently the foreigner had it,
right?
And she broke into his apartment, and that's where she was getting beaten up and whatnot. And then when she left, she stole that, and apparently she stole a pair of Jimmy Hoffa's shoes as well.
Which I thought was hilarious. Yeah.
I love how she took them and didn't just leave them. Like, she complained that she took them.
Wait a second.
Girl, just don't take them.
Exactly.
But I have a theory about the Golden Notebook. So they keep bringing up the Golden Notebook because they're like, oh, you want to know what this Golden Notebook's from? Guess you'll have to read Secret Wars 2.
Yeah.
Please
No
buy
thanks.
Secret Wars 2. Please? Please?
Hold up.
Nope.
Are they implying that the foreigner is the one that killed Jimmy Hoffa?
I don't know.
I hope so.
Possibly, yes. I think that is the implication, yeah.
Interesting. I didn't really. I was thinking about that. I'm like, wait, that was in the 70s, wasn't it? That he went missing.
Seems about right. Yeah.
No.
So we haven't really talked about the actual issue, but I thought that. I thought it was a decent issue. I was very. Hold on, wait, Mike Dell. We take our turn on Spider-Cast. Come on. I was disappointed by the portrayal of Sabretooth. But everything else was okay. But again, a problem with juggling subplots that didn't quite gel with the kid and all that stuff. I didn't like that. But I'll make you wait till last, Mike Dell. So let's talk to Josh next. What did you think of this one?
I really, really, really hate how in the 80s Black Cat is written.
Right.
I think everything they do to her and how they make her character just so unlikable. Every time she's on the page, I'm just like, ugh, I'm over it already.
Right.
Just because I know that they don't know how to write her. They don't really know what they want to do with her. Even when her and Peter were in love, it was painful to read because she was just so weirdly written. So even here, it's it just seems like they want her to be tough, and then all of a sudden she gets knocked out by these goons, and she imagines that he is Spider-Man because she was knocked out, I guess.
That was weird.
So she's making out with the dude that's sexually assaulting her, and then when she wakes up, it's like nothing happened. She beats up the goons, and then she's back to normal, and it's oh, Peter, how's it going? Oh, I hate you. You took away my power. It's just I don't know. She's just kind of written for what the plot needs and the plot doesn't happen because of things that she wants. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? She's written around the plot instead of the plot being written around her motives. She just always seems off to me. So I'm always kind of when she's around.
Gotcha. G.I. Jolie, what do you think?
Oh God, I hate this one.
Yeah.
Like, I keep getting told that Peter David kind of rescues Spider-Man a little, but like so far, this is not right.
Yeah, it's fake news. Fake news.
I do like the throwbacks though, like the 102 uses for a dead cat. Like that was cute. Just for anybody out there, it's a reference to 101 Uses for a Dead Cat by Simon Bond. Yeah, but also it's like a funny shout out to a really like weird comic that was viewed as extremely strange at the time, and like a lot of people rallied against it. They either liked it or they're like, this is terrible, you shouldn't be this shouldn't be a cartoon because kids read cartoons and you can't have this level of like macabre in comics,
right?
But like, is this are they trying to like draw a parallel? I don't think that this comic is smart enough to do that, but God, the rape and torture of Black Cat throughout the entire comic was like enough to turn me off. And then I thought that it was going to be redeemed later by the action that ensues. Like it cuts away. It's like, okay, thank God, this is over. Like my anxiety is a little bit alleviated. And then he starts tearing into Mary Jane about paying for because she's using her body to make him money. Bitch, stop doing these things.
He's such a rascal.
Yeah. So speaking of the awful,
misogynist is the word I'd use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that and the awful writing, in my opinion, again, of Peter David, I also don't get it. Like, I don't get what everybody's like raving about. In one of the comments down below of like the website we're reading, this guy also kind of says like Spider-Man is written like a complete jerk, like, and like everything that's happening is just awful. He says Peter David is in desperate need of psychiatric help. At first, his craziness was innocuous, but now it's entering pitch black territory. And somebody responded saying, Peter was a excellent writer, idiot. Shut up, idiot loser.
Well, I agree with the first part, but not the second part.
Love the internet so much.
Yeah.
Good argument.
So it really shows that like he wrote out this guy. The first guy was like writing out his opinion, like why he doesn't think it's good writing, and obviously a big Peter David fan jumped in to defend it. And I kind of agree with the first one. I don't get it. I don't get what all the Peter David hype is about, because I'm really not enjoying anything that has been coming out of Peter Parker lately. Exactly,
because it's so, these women are being like gaslit into thinking like I just don't anyway. I don't understand. Like her reaction isn't, well, F this BS. Her reaction is, oh, I guess we just had a lover's quarrel. Like, I'm gonna say it, like, fuck you, Peter David. Is this a joke? Anyway, I hated this issue so much. Like, not even the buddy relationship between Foreigner and Sabretooth saved this issue for me. Like the joke,
I thought that was terrible.
The joke that Mike mentioned, I laughed. But that's the only part I liked. The rest of it was terrible. Ugh. Anyway.
Bex Luthor?
The page where he's pacing.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Good, interesting use. I mean, get rid of all the things that he's thinking about, because, like, I mean, grow the fuck up, Peter. Like, get over yourself. You already know what I'm gonna say, Mike. I hated it. It was bad. Just Peter Parker consistently is the comic that makes me want to stop reading Spider-Man from the 80s. Because while the previous issue of Amazing was also bad, it didn't make me feel angry or upset or it just was like, oh, this is just not good. Cool, move on with my day. But this one I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot that in the 80s they hated women a lot.
Yeah.
And it just goes, oh right. And also like they still hate women a lot. It just reminds me that, you know, there's a lot of people out there who think this is fine. Still. It's not fine. It's not fine. And I can't ever separate when it's something like this, when it's something like sexual assault, when it's just really distinct, horrible racism. I can't like separate that, be like, oh, it was a product of its time, because it was still hurting a lot of people in its time. And it just sours the whole thing for me. So I can't enjoy the writing of a man who writes Black Cat this way. Like I'm like, oh, this is how he thinks of me as a reader. So I'm out of it. I'm out. I would take 10 terrible, awful, Amazing Spider-Man issues over one of these, even though it does have some highlights with the foreigner stuff and like I said, with Peter and the pacing and things like that I did enjoy. But Peter just breaking into her apartment and being on the ceiling, what's that about, dude? Yeah. Knock on the door. You freaking creep.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and then Peter Parker is consistently the one that I think, like, where Peter Parker himself is written so off kilter and just so not Spider-Man to me, where he's just way too mopey, way too self, like, just stuck on himself. He doesn't care about any of the people around him, and it's like, well, then why are you Spider-Man? Why are you doing any of this stuff if you don't care about people or if you're treating people like garbage? Yeah. Like, again, if he was in the symbiote suit, it would all make sense, but he's not. He's just a dick.
Just a dick.
All right.
Gold Notebook, though.
Mike Dell, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with all those points that everyone else made except for you, Michael. Your points were way off base. But yeah, I don't even recognize Peter Parker in this. Like, this is not he's completely unlikable. Spider-Man's unlikable. The conversation he had with Mary Jane was ridiculous. The argument he had with Black Cat was ridiculous. This writing is just awful. I didn't even like the Foreigner Sabretooth stuff. I thought that was overdone and just really forced. I don't like any of this. This is my least favorite of the 3 issues. And I was really excited to see this when you see that great cover with Sabretooth and Spider-Man fighting. But yeah, this is just awful. And Rich Buckler is the artist here. And I'm usually a big fan of the Rich Buckler, but Bob McLeod's the inker.
Right.
And I think whenever McLeod inks something, everything kind of turns out looking like Bob McLeod drew it.
I love Bob McLeod,
See, I'm not a huge fan of the Bob McLeod. So the art's kind of a mixed bag for me. And one other thing about Sabretooth that I think is funny, and again, this is really early Sabretooth, so they still don't even know, how to handle him or whatever. But after he rips his face up, Spider-Man says, "What a mess. He must be in agony. Poor devil's out of it. Better get him to a hospital." And then they say later on, and once Sabretooth is hospitalized, it's just absurd reading that now. Right. Like Sabretooth doesn't need to go to a hospital. What are you going to do? Can you see Sabretooth with one of those little bracelets around his wrist, sitting in the bed waiting to get treated? I mean,
they should have put that one frame in there. That would have been great. Anyway.
But yeah, it's just strange. I hated the little humorous bits with the neighbors. It just didn't work at all. And I could, the subplot with the kid, I guess, but I don't know. I have no interest in that either. So yeah, this is just, I hated this issue so much.
Well, this was my favorite issue of the week. But anyway, as you guys know, Peter Parker continues to be my favorite of the 3. But, yeah, and, I'll have the Kevin Jake agrees with me, and so does Andrew Helmer, but that's okay. So no big deal.
What do you like about this issue that I don't like about the other 2? Yeah.
Well, we talked about the problems with Webb, about I like the setup and not the change in tone. So I do like Webb this week, but it's the plot, it takes a weird turn. If the whole issue would have been as good as the first half, it would have been much better, right? But I think that's why I don't remember that issue. I don't remember, it's not one I want to go back and reread. Amazing Spider-Man was way too all over the place. Like, there was some good bits in it, but overall, just a hodgepodge of different things thrown together. Now, this one is a hodgepodge, but I liked most of what I read. So that's basically, I don't think any of the issues this week are great, but this one is definitely my favorite, for sure. This is the one that I remember the most, and this is the one I reread the most, so.
Do we find out who this little fire boy is?
Oh, yeah. That story, I think it's climaxes next week or the week after.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, don't spoil it for me, Michael. Don't spoil it. Yeah, don't spoil it for me, because I really want to.
Yeah, don't worry. I would never do that. I'm not going to tell you what happens. You have to read it for yourself.
I'm just going to quickly go on to Wikipedia and...
Now, if you're listening at home, we are not going to be finding out what happens to those subplots next week. Next week's episode, we're going to be reviewing Hooky, the graphic novel by Charles Vess. So be sure to join us next week. We want to thank Mike Dell from Flea Market Fantasy and LCS Hockey for joining us. Thank you, Mike Dell.
No, Michael. Thank you.
Oh, well, guess what? This is one of the longest episodes we've ever done, and by the time we're done, it might be the longest. So we'll see if we break the record. But yeah, definitely thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Think real quick before we wrap up, I think I can hopefully speak for everybody with a 3 do not recommends and then a recommend from Mike.
Oh, we didn't even talk about those. Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
I recommend it. Yeah, you're right. I think you spoke for everyone. Yeah. I recommend it. No one else does. There you go.
Perfect.
So we were doing things a little bit out of order this week. But yeah, so be sure to join us next week for Hooky. And Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or you can drop us a line on Twitter at HCTSpidercast. Please let us know what you guys think about the comics we're reading and talking about, and the podcast itself. We definitely want to keep that comics conversation going, so keep in touch.
That's right. So until next Monday, Spider friends,
go for